How big of a deal is this BlackRock ETF?
Everyone's heard of the space race, where a bunch of countries got together and they all tried to get to space first. But now what we're going to see is the great accumulation race. We have institutions and individuals all scrambling to try to get their share of the 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be in existence. The retail investor for 15 years now has had a head start, and they've accumulated all the Bitcoin that has been actually mined and put into circulation. But 68% of all of that Bitcoin in circulation hasn't moved in over a year. And so what that means is when Wall Street, people like BlackRock and other organizations that have now filed for these ETFs or other products, show up to the market and they want to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a highly illiquid asset, and these Bitcoiners don't want to sell to Wall Street. And so the only thing that can move when you have a fixed supply asset that's highly illiquid and there's a bunch of demand that comes into the market is the price has to go up.
I've seen a spate of new Bitcoin ETF offerings recently, including from BlackRock. Even though everybody knows the SEC and Gary Gensler is completely hostile to the idea, and everybody said, well, they're going to say no to a Bitcoin ETF, just like they said no to everybody else. But I'm wondering why now? What does BlackRock think they're going to get out of this effort?
You can't get away from your favorite subject here, can you?
People ask me about it, and I don't have an easy answer for it. I always think I'm missing something here.
I think you're right. I think your sniffer
you think
usually
I'm missing
is
something?
No. I think you're onto something. I think your sniffer is always really pretty good, Bob. If BlackRock all of a sudden has filed for a Bitcoin ETF that's not futures based, it's spot Bitcoin,
right.
Okay? And Gensler said, no way, that's not going to happen. But at the same time, they're bringing together some pretty good partners from a custody standpoint. They've got Bank of New York Mellon, they've got Coinbase,
right.
They've got an agreement, a surveillance agreement with NASDAQ to help with the security aspect of it. So they're trying to show the SEC that they're putting all the safety provisions in place to give them the confidence, to give them that acceptance of their application. I think the big thing we know is Gensler said, we're not going to do anything there unless we have the exchanges regulated, and Coinbase is not regulated.
But that's my question. Do you think this is going to change their mind? I can't without the clear regulatory authority, and they're not getting a bill through Congress. So now he's just resorted to essentially suing everybody. He's trying to regulate essentially by filing complaints.
Yeah.
I don't see how this changes.
If anybody can get it done, would you bet against BlackRock?
No.
You know, they're the behemoth, right? They're the.
That's why I'm thinking. I still don't quite get.
Yeah.
How are they going to change his mind?
I mean, if they can partner with Coinbase and say, look, you agree to get regulated, what would that do to your business? Imagine institutional investments, just 1% allocation to Coinbase, and what that would mean. We're talking about a lot of money.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people like you that are saying, is this finally the time? Is it going to happen?
We're going to follow this very carefully, folks, because, again, they're not going to waste their time.
Yeah.
Trust me, BlackRock isn't. If they don't think they have some...
This terrible price action in crypto has given us pause and forced us to ask a tough question. Should we continue to cover Bitcoin? And the answer is sadly...
So I think that BlackRock right now is realizing if you just bought Bitcoin and held it since the start of the pandemic, you've outperformed almost every single hedge fund on Wall Street. You just Bitcoin and chill. And I tend to think that these investors, they're not going to go put 100% of their assets into Bitcoin. But what they are starting to say is, does this warrant a 1, 2, 3% allocation into a portfolio? And I think that argument is becoming much more hard to ignore. And so what I think you're going to start seeing is that these large asset managers say we have to have a product in the market.
Well, 4 years ago, like almost to this week, I kind of gave a shout out. It wasn't endorsed, it was kind of a fake shout out to Litecoin. You got Algorand, you got Solana, you got Dogecoin, you got Ether. How much are you in any of these ones? To your point, the more risky ones, the more gambling, not boring old Bitcoin in a way, but taking an investment risk down that crypto ladder, if you will, Anthony.
Bitcoin is the king. I don't think that's going to change. It's over 50% of the market today. Hash rate's at an all-time high. If you go and you look at wallet addresses with 0.1 Bitcoin or 1 full Bitcoin, it's hitting all-time highs. And I continue to think that Bitcoin is going to continue to prove to be the winner in this market. And so if you're somebody who's looking at the market, it's just like buying the S&P 500 index, right? You just want the boring thing that seems to keep compounding for a long period of time. And it's the timeless investing principle. Buy great assets and